this thing on? Oop, hold on. Holy cow, here we are. We're at the Weekend Homestead. By the way, that light, best light ever installed on solar. Anyways, it's a nice brisk winter day. Figure I'd give you guys a quick update on what's going on since we haven't posted a video in almost a year now. Thing is everybody keeps asking about what is Pinecone Camp, so today we are going to take a quick tour of Pinecone Camp, the solar equipment, everything out there. Just gotta figure out, I don't really want to walk out there, so let's teleport in 3, 2, 1. Here we are, Pinecone Camp. Let's take a quick tour. We'll start out in the swamp and we'll work our way back. So Pinecone Camp is a camp area that we built out here over the last couple of years. It's been something I've been kind of working on. Originally it started out we were just going to have like a little fire pit and stuff, and then we kind of got the idea of, well, what happens if we put a cabin? And then that became, what happens if we start fixing it up? And then it became, what are we going to do to get power out here? And the first thing we did was I figured out how to build a solar array to power this whole thing so the entire thing is completely off the grid. So right here is a giant pine cone forest that we have, and I'm standing currently on the edge of a very large swamp. Well, what we decided to do is I figured out a way to drive a metal post down into the ground and mount 2 solar panels on here, which basically power the entire thing. So it's a fairly simple rig. This pipe is a little deceiving. It's actually a 10-foot pipe, but we only have a small amount sticking out of the ground because the rest of it's down in the bottom. We had a buddy of ours do a little bit of welding on a metal bracket that we put on there, and then I got conduit. We ran conduit down underneath and all the way back, all the way up to the camp over there where the power is, which is about 140 feet away. The bracket has these 2 simple controllers that are on the back of the panels. These are Renogy 100-watt panels that run down into some splitters that then run down to the cord and the cable, and then this runs underground. We're actually standing in tall grass right now in the summertime, and then up to the actual campsite itself. So that's the solar out there, and then it runs down this walkway. This camp is located about a half mile back from the house, pretty good distance off the road. Super quiet. Underneath the ground right here is where that wires are running. And they run over to this, one of the best creations I've made yet on the property. I call this my remote solar box. Let's take a walk through. So this is just a standard box that you'd have for your lawn furniture or your patio cushions, that kind of stuff. I've got a Harbor Freight 2000 watt generator in here, and then I built this custom box, and inside this custom box houses a lot of cool stuff. So simply, just to walk you through this, the wires come up through that hole right there from in the swamp. So these 2 wires are the 2 wires that come from that solar system there and run underneath this, underground, and up into here. Then from here, it goes into this charge controller. This charge controller basically controls the amount of power going into our batteries. It shows us that we're getting information off of our solar panels. The batteries are here and we have a good connection. So then they run out of here and run into our 2 batteries. These are basically a standard solar battery that you would use. Now, one thing that we're doing on this side is in the middle here, I have a little heat mat that you actually use for seed starting that goes into this thermatic switch, which then runs out and runs onto this side where our power is. What this pad does is this insulated box, so top, bottom, and sides are insulated around the battery, and basically it holds the temperature of this box between anywhere between 25 and 50 degrees. So at no point in time does the temperature drop. And the power that's being produced by these batteries through the inverter is going back and heating this little pad. And this switch basically turns on and off based on how cold it is outside. This little white box right here is what runs wirelessly into the Pinecone cabin, so I can tell what the temperature is out in this box at any time. From the battery side, runs back over here and runs into our power inverter. Power inverter is a pure sine wave power inverter, 150 watt. that basically runs everything inside of the camp and everything around. This is a master shutoff if I need to kill the power out here for whatever reason. And basically then the 110 power runs on this blue cord to this box, which then runs down through this pipe. This pipe then runs to a breaker box inside of the camp building. There's two other wires that you see here. This skinny wire is the communications wire that runs to a panel in the control inside, and then this is 12 volt power. So what I did when I designed this is basically came up with the idea that I wanted the ability to run this thing as a 12 volt power system and as a 110 power system, so that then we can run two different systems, and I'll show you exactly why when we get inside. But that way I can run a lower voltage system for a longer period of time, or a higher voltage system if I want the creature comforts of lights and TV and all that stuff. So let's walk over inside and I'll show you kind of how the inside works. What we got here? Ooh. It's toasty in here. All right, so let's do a quick walkthrough of Pinecone Camp. I'm going to show you a couple different things here, and hopefully I can kind of give you some ideas of what's going on. First item is the system runs on 12 volts and 110. So we have 12 volts, so this runs the light outside. This one runs the ceiling fan up above us right there. And then this one, boink, runs an LED light strip that runs around the top of the building, all the way around to either side. So you got some nice mood lighting in here. It works awesome in the winter time when it gets dark outside. Turn these on, it lights the whole place up. Coming around this way, got a light switch and an outlet right here for a light above our kitchen sink area. Then we work our way around. We've got our wood stove, got a television on the wall, and then this is kind of a seating area, which is a futon, which will actually turn into a full-size bed. I've got a light here. This one runs off of 12 volts. Like I said, I tried to mix the services inside of the building so that then if I want to use it and I only want to be on 12 volt, I can do that. If I want to use it and have it be on 110, I can do that. So it really gives both options. Up above here is a loft. If you saw a picture online of some black pipe, actually I'm making a railing for right here out of black pipe that'll kind of protect up there. And then I'm going to make a stairway along this wall over here that goes from basically the floor all the way up to the top. And up here, this loft is actually big enough to have a twin size bed. If you look way back in there, I've got a light up on the wall for reading and that kind of stuff, and a little cubby up on the top by the head where books and stuff can go. We're not done yet. I still got a couple other things we're working on. Underneath, next to the television to the wall, there's going to be a cabinet on the wall there. Just haven't gotten around to that. As we keep coming around, this is probably one of my favorite features, is this guy right here. This is a standard thermostat. It'll be set to a temperature, and what we did, so right down here in this cabinet is a 12 volt powered forced air furnace that runs off the thermostat on the wall. I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but through that little light, there's a little dot right there. That's the looking glass. So what we did was we put a 12 volt Volkswagen van furnace in down below here, and then we piped the exhaust outside. Underneath the building runs a gas line, and back in the corner on the outside of the building there's a 20-pound propane tank. That 20-pound propane tank gives us about 4 weeks of heat so far. Granted, we're not out here all the time, but it's one of those things where when we come out here, you just flip the thermostat on, and that thermostat will set to whatever temperature it is, have it at 70 degrees, whatever you need, and away you go. The beauty of it is it's all run off a 12 volt, so if I don't have a lot of power in my power bank because we don't have a lot of solar, I still can run the system because basically it'll run off of a 12 volt just like inside of your car. Kind of to finish the walk around, this is the kitchen cabinet area. This is actually a mixture of cabinets. This side of the cabinet is actually cabinets for a bathroom vanity. This side of the cabinets are either custom or they're ones for a kitchen. And what we did was we cheated in the back corner and actually changed the depth on it. And the biggest reason why is because I wanted to stay within a certain size. This countertop is a granite countertop with what's called a chiseled edge, and then the top of it is called leathered. It's not actually a shiny surface like you'd normally have on a granite countertop. It's a matte finish where they took all these stones and they were able to rough it out to give it kind of that rustic look. We got a butcher block box here that actually covers up a gray water sink. So this sink allows you to wash a couple dishes, and then it drains the gray water outside. And then the big piece, this right here, this little wood stove, the chimney that goes up to the top. That wood stove is ridiculous. It will run so hot in this place that I've had it as high as 90 degrees on the thermostat there and on the temperature gauge, because it basically produces heat to heat up equivalent of 800 square feet, and we're just under 100 square feet inside this place. So it's actually bigger than what we need. So what we did was we built this little pedestal, and this little pedestal that it sits on basically is about a good enough height that, one, we could get the furnace underneath it. That vent down there is actually for cold air draw. There's some holes in the floor underneath both of these, so it pulls cold air in from underneath. And then up top on the end, we have a vent that vents outside that kind of allows us to get some circulation, so we're constantly getting fresh air inside the building. But this little stove doesn't have blower or anything like that. Very, very simple. It's actually from tinywoodstoves.com. I think I've had some things on Facebook about it, but very cool little setup. But this little wood stove will heat this place. The pieces of wood you see in there have actually been in there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. It burns nice and slow. It doesn't go through a lot. The cool thing is I use these little pieces of fat wood like this to start the fire. Whew, this is hot right here. And then I've got some little scrap pine pieces that we use to kind of keep it going. And then all the weird cutoffs and end pieces and breakoffs that we have for when we split wood, I just save them in a big bucket, and that's what I use out here to burn. So I don't actually have to cut special wood. This is just weird end cuts and chunk cuts and stuff like that from when we've done work on the house. Last item we have is this television. It'll pull in terrestrial channels. It pulls in one channel from Duluth, which is kind of nice, which allows us to get some local channels. But otherwise, we have a movie server that's built into it where I download a bunch of videos and movies and stuff like that to my phone or to the USB drive. And then what it'll do is I can bring it up here. So we have kind of the ultimate man cave where come out and watch some movies and stuff like that and hang out. And you know, if it's not a great day outside, you can still come out to Pinecone Camp and hang out. A couple items you don't see here. We don't have a refrigerator out on this part of the property. Just power usage and everything else, and space-wise it just didn't work out. We actually have a Yeti cooler that we just leave out on the front porch that keeps most of the food and drinks and beverages and stuff cool out there, so that works out good. Bathroom facilities right outside, not a big issue there. We don't have running water out here, but what we plan to do is eventually in the corner right here, I'm probably going to get some kind of jug or something like that with a little spigot on it so I can have some water available inside. So one last thing I wanted to show you was this. So right here, remember I said there was a control wire that was coming in? This control wire runs to this pad right here, which basically will tell me what my power level is. Right now we're running pretty low. We're only at 56% just because the sunshine has been shining too much today. But underneath here, we have the control box where the power comes into the building. And then I also have this setup, which is basically the same fuse box you'd have inside of a recreational vehicle. And our 110 comes in to the controller in the back, and then the 12 volt runs into this switch, which is basically a shut-off switch in case I need to kill the power in here, and then it runs into this fuse box, which then runs to all the appliances inside the building. So the 12 volt lights, the furnace, all of that stuff runs through that fuse panel and then out to the different locations. Right above us I added a simple outdoor light. That light right there basically gives us enough power to kind of light up this whole area. And then let me show you this around the side. So on the side of the building, you may have seen these before, but that's the same output that you have on the side of a furnace that you'd have like on an RV or a camper. That heater that's inside of there is the same thing that's inside of a VW Bug. It just is physically inside of a building, and we use it to port out here. The thing is, that thing pumps out a lot of heat and will easily heat this place because we have insulation in the walls and the ceiling, so it's all insulated and it has a great R value. This furnace basically is just enough to bring it up to temperature. I've been out here when it's 10 degrees outside and it's still warm enough inside the building. Around the back here, we have a very simple setup. Basically a 20-pound propane tank that runs into a shutoff valve, and then that shutoff valve runs to this piping that runs under the building and then up into where the furnace is. And so this tank right here, which could be a 30, could be a 20, whatever size we wanted, sits back here. Eventually we'll have a little roof over this, and this will all be enclosed in a storage area back behind the building here. But essentially that space is heated by that 20-pound propane tank or by the wood stove. The cool thing about the wood stove is it's also the ambience of it. You know, having a wood stove out there that has some heat in it, and it can heat the place, but then also kind of give you that ambience and the smells and sounds and everything like that. The chimney, very simple, right there. That actually came with the stove. So when you buy a stove from Tiny Wood Stoves, they send you the black pipe, they send you the chimney kit and everything, because everything is 4-inch. Normally in a normal home it's a 6-inch or an 8-inch pipe. This scenario we had to use a 4-inch pipe, so it was kind of a custom model. But at the same point, everything for Pinecone Camp was custom. You know, we started out with a real simple building. We had, you know, a 100 square foot building delivered. So this building here is one of those ones you see along the side of the road where they have the, what do you want to call it? Like the build your own shed or drop it off. And we worked out a way to figure out a way to bring it out to this location. We did a bunch of prep work and got it completely set up. It's on a gravel pad. And then once that was here, then we started to build the porch and the steps, and then spent a lot of time bringing materials out. And this vehicle right here, the Gator, was the main way we brought all of it out here. You know, there's no Home Depot, there's no easy way to drive a truck or anything like that. So everything that you see inside of that space was brought out here on that vehicle. And the biggest reason why is because we're in the middle of nowhere, but that's exactly how we wanted it. You know, these types of projects anybody can do. It's something, if you wanted to have a camp where you wanted to have something where people can camp outside, which we have set up out here, but then you can also have the ability for, like, if the wife and the kids want to stay inside while the guys are camping out in tents out here or whatever it is, it can be a great place for a family gathering. It's a very inexpensive way to get into the cabin. The tricky part about it is everything is small, so you had to really think through how we had everything put in there. We couldn't just buy a regular countertop. We couldn't just buy, you know, regular stove or any of that kind of stuff for it. So, you know, those types of things are things you got to think about when you're looking at these. But my trick on this one was I was trying to find the smallest space I possibly could and to try to challenge myself to make it work and build something tiny, because anybody can build something big. It's whether or not you could actually build something tiny. So this is it. This is Pinecone Camp. Over at Garden Fork, I've been doing some podcasts with him on and off as a guest. If you go check out his podcast, I got updates on the homestead, the property, what we're doing out here, and a lot of stuff about the resort. I'm going to try to do a couple more videos. I want to do a walkthrough of the resort. I know a lot of people have been asking what kind of updates and things we've done there. So that'll definitely be one of the items that we'll be discussing. And I kind of want to know what you guys want to see, you know. Tell me what kind of videos you want to see, what kind of stuff, what kind of updates do you want? Do you want more of us just talking about stuff, or, you know, showing stuff? You know, we've got a shop that we're working on out on the property here. I hope to do a lot more DIY projects. So over the next couple of months, I hope to have a couple more videos out, you know, doing some updates on kind of what's been going on in our lives. If you want to follow along and want to get more updates on things we got going on, I tend to post more to Instagram and Facebook these days just because it's a lot easier. I do hope to continue to produce YouTube videos on and off, but you guys know the drill. If you like what we're doing, you know, share it with a friend or show it to somebody, and, you know, our hope is to have more videos coming out in the next couple months. Got a lot of really cool stuff going on out here. Just, it's hard to remember to grab the camera and kind of shoot some videos, so hopefully we'll start doing this more often. If you have any questions specifically about Pinecone Camp, leave them in the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and, you know, hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.